with your son and maybe even grade yourself on the dad level participating with him?
Yeah, I mean, I get to be dad, and ever since the two younger ones, Kacy and Kody. Kacy's with the Blue Jays, and obviously Cody's here with the Whitecaps. But even at Texas, I got to be Kacy and Cody's dad, so that was pretty cool for me. So, I love it that the boys are chasing their dreams. I enjoy working with all the boys, like even today or when I come in town. I tell him that they're swinging and they're taking enough batting practice. There's no reason for me to come out and throw or do anything like that, but I guess he wants to see if I can still do it or something. Or I tell him maybe I think a glass of red wine is just as good for your heart than me getting out there for an hour trying to throw 88 miles an hour. But it's fun watching them. It's fun watching all the boys try and chase their dreams, and you get to know a lot of the other players. I mean, I do some work with the Astros. I work with about 25 guys that are in the big leagues now that when I say work with them, I thank goodness for TiVo, because I can film a start and watch it back in about 12 minutes. And, usually the guys that come in town with other teams will go play my golf course, and then they want to have lunch and talk a little pitching or some technical part of their game, maybe the mental part of their game that they're struggling with. So I enjoy doing it. I mean, I did it for, 24 years, so I enjoy doing that at any level, whether in the minor leagues or in the big leagues.
You've pitched in so many big games, obviously.
Yeah.
Compare pitching in a big game and that pressure to the nervousness or the excitement of watching your kids and wanting them to compete and do well.
Yes, so I think if the boys pitched, I would be a little more antsy, because I know how difficult it is when they're hitting and playing a position. It's pretty easy for me. I mean, I do watch closely on how different pitchers or catchers are trying to break down certain hitters. I did that. Like I said, I was a power pitcher. I wasn't a power thrower. Big difference. And so I watch guys that do that. When you talk about pressure, I tell people pressure's nothing. I pitch in a lot of big-time World Series games. Pressure's pitching kids' pitch or dad's pitch. That's pressure. When you got to throw 6 pitches to your kid and you've thrown 5 balls and the moms are in the stands just screaming at you saying, "Come on, throw my kid a strike." I mean, you're a professional. That's pressure. So, but no, we have fun with it and just kick back and enjoy it. Like I said, it's pretty cool with Detroit because my aunt lived in Detroit, so I usually stayed with her when I pitched up there. Have some great fond memories of that. Obviously, coming here, when I realized Kody was getting drafted by the Tigers and he was being assigned here, I looked at the staff and couldn't believe it, that it's half of them, a couple of the guys I played with, a couple I played against. And I encourage Kody that, they have some very experienced coaches here, some very watchful eyes to, pick their brain as the season goes along so they can learn from that. And Lance caught me in my very first All-Star game in Houston. I still remember him with that catcher's mitt with that bright orange circle, to make you a pitcher focus on throwing strikes. So Vandy's here. Marion, he's here. I played with him in Toronto, and it's just good to see some old faces.
How hands-on are you in terms of coaching him? I mean, you just kind of leave that to them, or do you really get in there and give them your 2 cents?
Oh, yeah, no, unless they ask me if we're at lunch or something and one of the guys, his teammates or somebody, they ask a pointed question, we'll, I'll try and give them a pointed answer. But other than that, I just stay as a parent and don't worry about it too much. They're grown men. They got a pretty good idea. Like I said, they have an experienced coaching staff. They're professionals. So, again, as long as they know that you're gonna fail, you're gonna have some tough times, and you have a lot of critics, and so it's tough because you're part of being in the public eye. But just weather the storm if you like doing it. This is really his second family now. He's going to be with these guys more than than us really, and so he'll have to get used to that.
Cody's having a great year at the plate, dating back to the spring with UT. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from him that's allowed him to elevate his game at the plate?
Yeah, I think it's just confidence. Cody's, he's always been a good hitter. He's always been a good hard worker. I think that he really took note when I said that, you're going to have you're not going to be great all the time, and just keep your peaks and your valleys not too deep or too high, and that's part of baseball. I think he loves it here. I told him, don't get used to this. These are very nice crowds. I mean, I told him, I remember coming from the College World Series, I beat Alabama, and we had, 22,000 people at Rosenblatt. I was signed by the Boston Red Sox. They sent me to Winter Haven, Florida. I think there was like 10, 11 people in the stands. So it's a reality check. So these crowds here are pretty special. Kacy had the same thing in Vancouver. I mean, they were packing it in Vancouver to watch those kids play. So that's always cool when you have a hometown, a town like this that supports their local team.
You miss playing, competing, and what?
I don't. I like my shoulder and elbow intact, and thank God for ice, because I threw to the boys for about an hour, and so I'll go back and probably ice again here in a little bit. I usually carry a couple towels and wraps with me to wrap up, and so I'm just fortunate that I took really good care of my body, and I'm still, my elasticity is still pretty good, but I do that to I do 3-pound cuff weights to go play golf. So like I did last week, we raised quite a bit of money for the people in La Coeur d'Alene, and we had a tournament there for community cancer, which Wayne Gretzky and Marcus Allen, a bunch of us turned out to help those folks out.
The ceremony was this past weekend.
Right.
The voting in your favor has been going up in recent
years.
years.
Great.
How much would it mean to you to eventually get that?
I didn't see a lot of it. Obviously, I was made aware of it. I totally forgot that it was, but then once I heard Kody told me that his manager, that Lance was going up to see some of those guys, which to be honest with you, I already thought that Jack Morris and Tram was in there. They obviously deserve it. I don't know how Alan Trammell can be in the Hall of Fame without having sweet Lou Whitaker walking hand in hand with him. I mean, those two guys, when you think about Trammell, you think about Lou Whitaker. I know they have some type of combination of middle infield records together. So I thought about that, and then of course Kacy reminded me, because he, I guess, knows or played with Vladdy, so Vladdy Jr. went in. So that's fantastic. My situation is great. I've said it a million times. If it happens, it's great. Thumbs up. It's not going to change my life one way or the other. I didn't play my career to worry about being in the Hall of Fame. And besides that, it's more of a me beating, I beating, thump your chest type deal. I would have so many teammates, including guys like Lance Parrish and guys that were stepping stones for me to get to not when I was in the big leagues, but stay there. I've got a lot of guys that will never have the chance to be what everybody considers a Hall of Famer, but they're a Hall of Famer to me because they were fantastic teammates for me on my 24-year journey, for sure.